Hey everybody, welcome back to the Funnel Vision podcast with me, Anthony Parmal, the marketing dude. Today's episode is on Google Ads and search engine marketing. I'm really happy about this one because I managed to get someone who I admire very, very greatly when it comes to Google Ads. Her name is Anna Baer. She is a Google Ads specialist and trainer. She's been doing it for many years now. And I am looking forward to this conversation. So here we go. So first of all, I just wanted to say thanks. Could you introduce yourself? I mean, what exactly do you do? And if you want to talk about where you're working as well, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Anna, and I head the department at my company for performance media. My company's name is United SEO. That's unitedseo.ae. And we specialize in everything digital. So like end-to-end solutions from your website to your SEO, Google Ads, social media, and also everything that we do in Arabic as well. So what I do particularly is focusing on Google Ads and social media marketing. And I've been doing Google Ads and social media marketing for, I'd say about 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
And when I first started, I was working in banking. And I hated it because I had actually studied digital marketing, but this was, I graduated in 2007 and, it was the recession years. Nobody was really investing in marketing. Digital marketing, as a role it existed, but it was still very, very ambiguous, and it wasn't really clear what people were doing within digital marketing. It wasn't really very big at the time. So I was working in banking for a while, and then I got a job offer basically from an agency in Media City, and they were actually looking to hire somebody completely fresh, which was interesting because, I recently hired somebody. I've been going through the hiring process, and I only look for people who have experience because, Google Ads in itself is a very complicated platform, and the longer you've been working with it, the easier it is for you to identify and solve issues with client accounts, and strategize and improve. So it was interesting that I got hired as a fresh person in this field, and I've been doing it ever since.
Nice. Yeah. For the purposes of this podcast, we can easily say that we are talking to one of the experts of Google Ads and social media marketing, and especially.
It's still, this is not the first time somebody has referred to me as an expert or subject matter expert. I'm actually doing a corporate training next week as well in it, and it's really funny because I still think of myself as a person who's still learning digital marketing, and it's funny to think that it's been 7 years since I've been doing this, and I actually am a subject matter expert, but with Google Ads, it's such a dynamic interface. Recently the entire visual interface changed. And then Google has been changing a lot of features within the Google Ads interface, mostly I feel to make things more fair and an equal playing ground, but also make the end users experience better. A lot of policy changes and things like that. So they're definitely ramping up on the attention that they're giving Google Ads as an interface. So agencies like us, we spend a lot more time paying attention to what we're doing within campaigns, abiding by policies, making sure we're up to date on things like that. So
a person in digital marketing, especially, I think when people can be subject matter experts, and you are, and others could be. But the thing is, the nature of digital in terms of its daily evolution and daily changes and daily innovation is you could be an expert today and you're still learning because tomorrow it's something brand new.
Yeah.
Especially with something like SEO, because Google is literally every second innovating and changing and updating, and then there's something new you need to keep track of. And that brings me to, I think, my question really, Anna, is you've been working in the Middle East, doing SEO for a while and doing Google Ads for a while. In your opinion and your professional observation, what is the biggest myth or the biggest misconception companies have when it comes to Google Ads?
Many.
But if you had to prioritize.
I get a lot of clients that have very differing views on which one is more important when you compare Google Ads and when you compare SEO. So you get clients that tell me that they do not trust Google Ads. They're like, it doesn't matter how many companies are there in the top 3-4 positions, I will go past all of them and I will only go to the organic rankings. I'm like, why? They're like, no, I don't trust companies that can pay to be there because even if you're not a legitimate company, but if you have a website, you can still pay Google and you can still be there. Maybe the quality of the service is bad and maybe you can get scammed, but just because you are able to pay Google for it, you can still be there. So we have people with this kind of opinion, this kind of like myth that Google ads can't be trusted. And organic, you can be trusted because, Google will only give you that ranking because you have such a strong domain and you've been around for a long time and you have enough quality traffic to, trust that your website and the URL is trustworthy. And also a lot of other clients that believe that, Google ads in particular becomes too expensive over a longer period of time. Like a lot of people don't want to start Google ads because they have this misconception that, but I know it's very competitive and I know the budgets are only going to keep increasing and it's only going to get more competitive. And the thing is, see, with that first misconception, saying that, Google ads can't be trusted, there is a little bit of truth in that. We deal with a lot of clients that come to us very one-off that, try to set up advertising for like multi-level marketing companies. I'm not going to name any, but there are people who come to me and say, I want to set up Google ads for my website and I have products, but what I really want to do is focus on recruiting people. I'm like, your products and you're recruiting people? That's like a red sign for I am a multi-level marketing company, So it is true in a sense that sometimes it's very difficult to tell at the end of the day whether that company, that the ad that you've clicked on is a legitimate company. But the good news is that Google is cracking down on a lot of these companies, with they're being more active in the way that they're scanning websites, and they are marking down companies that aren't legitimate. And with this second one, basically saying that, budgets become a lot higher over time, or that they increase over time, that can be true, but that also really depends on the skill of the person who's managing the Google Ads account. And I think that's probably what I enjoy the most, is taking campaigns or taking accounts that are spending a lot and just not performing, and doing a really deep dive audit, figuring out what's going wrong, what the settings are like, what can be improved, and solving it. And sort of like a puzzle, when I get clients that come to me with these terribly bad setup accounts and it's all a complete mess and they have ridiculous cost acquisitions, and then within a month or two, I'm able to sort of put everything in order. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that Google Ads is going to get expensive over time. It will get competitive in your industry sometimes. There's only, a couple of positions on that first page for you to aim for. But if you have somebody who's experienced and skillful enough to pay attention to your campaign, optimize it properly, and spot out when you have potentials to improve and the potentials of things to remove, things that you won't really see such huge or drastic budget increases.
Well, that's really interesting, because what you just said it comes to something else I was thinking of, is that do you think then in that case it's smarter to hire an agency that specializes in Google Ads, or have somebody in-house?
So it depends. If you're going to hire somebody in-house that has previously worked in an agency, I would say go for that. But then the problem with that is that someone who's already worked in an agency, their salary expectations tend to be a lot higher. Agencies can afford to pay an individual a lot more because they're managing and they've got an income from so many different, clients. And you can charge per client in a particular way to validate the cost of paying somebody in an agency. Whereas when you hire somebody in-house, it doesn't make sense to hire somebody who's going to do your Google Ads and your SEO and social media marketing and then pay them $3,000 a month, because for them to successfully perform at their job, they would have had to have a lot of experience and a lot of skill, and people would just not really want to take that job. So basically the two options are, you can hire somebody in-house to do it. Likely, if you're hiring them at a lower sort of income, then they're not as skilled as you want them to be, or you have to sort of, if you really want to hire somebody in-house, you need to be comfortable paying them a high amount for their skill and their experience.
And at the same time, I think so I'm personally of the opinion that if you're going to do something as technical as SEO and Google, well, maybe not SEO, but at least Google advertising and online advertising, I feel like it's better to go with an agency, because my take is that if you're going to hire somebody, let's say full-time, you're going to be paying them a salary. That's one. But you're also going to be paying, aside from that, the budget of your ads, your setup, and everything else you pay Google or whichever other search engine. Whereas you could then take that money and give it to a specialized agency in total per month, like let's say a retainer, and they'll do a better job because they have their specialists on it. And the other thing with that is, Once somebody joins your company in-house, they're stuck with your brand, your industry, etc. So there's no innovation because they don't know what else is happening out there then. Yeah.
And like you said as well, like if you're gonna work with an agency, say for example, this is so some ballpark figures, you want to hire somebody to do your digital marketing in-house. You want to pay them, I think maybe even if you hired somebody fresh out of college, you're gonna have to pay them at least for 6,000 to 10,000. I'm guessing maybe it's a little bit on the higher side. I don't know. But that's what you're gonna have to pay them, and then obviously it's gonna be digital marketing, maybe plus other things, maybe some other marketing stuff, maybe throwing some road shows in or something like that. So that's what you have to pay. But if you want to just get your digital marketing done and we pay for digital marketing, you can go to an agency, even agencies in UAE, and they'll probably charge you 2,000, 1,500, 3,000, top 3,000 maybe to get everything done. So you are saving a lot going to an agency, and you're trusting on their experience and their resources to give you the best.
That kind of brings me to something else, again, the next point that I want to talk about, and the reason I want to talk to you. We know that, just for those people listening here, SEO stands for search engine optimization, where you optimize your website to be accessible and rank on search engines. And then you have your search engine marketing, where you have ads on Google, Bing, Yahoo, and whichever other, or even on social media. Now, my question, Anna, is aside from the top line things that we know in terms of Google Ads, where you have placement, you have ads appearing, you have information panels, et cetera, what are some of the more advanced Google ad options that companies can benefit from? Like, a lot of companies don't realize. For example, I learned only 2 years ago that Google Ads has the countdown feature in some of its ads, where you can show a countdown towards tickets being sold or whatever. I didn't know that. So could you kind of like touch on some really advanced Google ad features?
Yeah, actually there are a lot, and there's a lot coming out right now as well. So recently, I'm really excited about this, and it's not completely rolled out yet, but there's a new type of ad called a gallery ad. Mm-hmm. I've only actually seen it in one or two of my client accounts so far, and I'm waiting for it to hit all the other accounts. Essentially, what a gallery ad is like a combination of a search ad and a display ad. So when you search for something on Google, you see your regular text ad at the top. You'll see your shopping ads maybe. Gallery ads are basically like a white carousel of images as well as text. So this works great for if you don't want to set up a shopping campaign. Also, suppose you have a shopping campaign, you have an e-commerce website, you'll be doing some text ads, and you also want to do some gallery ads. So you essentially have such a strong footing, on that first page of Google with 3 different types of ads plus your SEO. So you have brand everywhere, and that works really well for you. Yeah.
Go on. I'll ask.
Oh yeah, but if you're a service-based company, obviously you don't have you can't have Google Shopping to visualize your product or service. Gallery ads can still be used to visualize that. So suppose you're a meal planning company, you do you send out the weekly meals and everything like that. You can actually use gallery ads to sort of display some of the meals that you have. It's not an e-commerce website as such. It's a service, but you can still display that visually to people and appeal to them visually.
Yeah, so your content can be the product, for example.
Yeah, so basically it's like Google is trying to innovate and make things, introduce new ways to reach people, not just have your standard text. Because on Google, when you search for something, there's already so much text. I mean, sometimes your brand can kind of drown out. Shopping, the introduction of shopping to the MENA region was great. I had a lot of e-commerce clients that immediately went on it. You set up a merchant account, you set up a basic product feed, which really isn't that difficult. And then there you go. Your products are on Google. So it's been great. But then it's the service-based clients that haven't really had something as equal to come up on Google. So gallery ads is a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, and is it similar to the Facebook carousel ad?
Yeah, similar. I haven't seen this implemented yet. I haven't rolled it out for anybody yet because I've only seen it pop up in 1 or 2 campaigns yet. But I haven't seen it in Google for any companies yet. So I think it's still being rolled out here and there. I read about it in the news a while ago, so I'm still waiting for it to come out full-fledged and take advantage of that. So that's something that's a new feature from Google and something that's interesting and that will definitely change the environment for Google Ads.
I wanted to talk about, now that we've touched on the region, what about other languages? I'm not talking about Arabic. In terms of Arabic Google Ads. Where have you seen the industry go in terms of, because I remember in the start when a lot of companies started going into Arabic, you had a lot of mistakes and you had a lot of keyword problems. You had, especially when it came to dialect and spelling and stuff like that, because a lot of agencies don't necessarily have an Arabic speaking person or an Arabic copywriter who can come up with the right words. What would you say about that?
So there's a lot of very interesting things I can say about this. First and foremost, a lot of companies over here try to reduce their marketing costs by trying to outsource their services to India and other like Asian companies. And the problem with this, obviously, comes into effect when you want to do things like Arabic marketing, because these people sitting in other countries are just using Google Translate and then running ads for you, which obviously means that it's not going to be correct. So we actually, as a company, we identified this potential sort of untapped market of Arabic advertising, and we set up an in-house Arabic department to focus on all the same digital marketing that we do in English. We do all of that in Arabic like about 2 years ago. And interestingly enough, it has actually grown so much. The first thing we do is get everybody to have an Arabic website. Localizing your business is so important. And that's not to say that Arabic-speaking people, are against English. It's a comfort sort of feature, especially with companies that advertise not only in the UAE, but especially to GCC. Like if you're going to be targeting people in Saudi and Oman and Kuwait and Bahrain, you want to make sure that, they understand English, but you want to also put that sort of, we also can, provide all this information to you in your own language and make it comfortable. So we identified that, and we started converting a lot of our English clients into also Arabic by developing the websites for them. And now we have like about a 5-person Arabic team, and they're basically doing SEO in Arabic, Google Ads in Arabic, social media in Arabic as well. And that department has just grown so much, and it's really amazing to see. Even though in the UAE everybody still speaks English, there's such a huge population that still, wants to see things in their own language.
How has it worked in terms of client response? I mean, since you're obviously providing a specialized service, and Arabic being the way it is the local language, rather the language that people think in, not just speak in. How has that resulted for your clients and for companies that you've worked in Arabic SEO for?
So we have a lot of clients that have, it's funny because a couple of clients that actually stopped doing their SEO in English and actually just went straight into just Arabic.
Oh, wow.
After even doing it in social media. Very few. But a lot of our clients basically who are already doing English also took up Arabic, saw the benefit of it, and now doing both. And we have in-house native Arabic speakers who do any of that Google Translate stuff. All the content that's written for SEO purposes is written by Arabic speakers. All of the Google ads, the banners, our designers are all Arabic speakers, so they know exactly what they're doing. Sometimes we have a little bit of difference in dialects. We've had a few clients, like local Emirati clients, that say, this is slightly different from like the Saudi Arabic, I feel. So there's a little bit like that, but generally it's been such a huge response, and it's all been such a positive response to Arabic marketing. And even on the social media side, trying to combine English and Arabic together has really helped as well.
Yeah, I like what you just said, and I think it comes down to, just for the audience, I think when you mentioned dialects and how some like Emiratis will say, well, this is actually Saudi Arabic and not. I think with the power of Google, where you can actually localize your ads towards specific countries and cities, you could actually set up Arabic ads in the specific dialect for each country, and then have those ads like a Saudi Arabic ad showing in Saudi only. And a variation of that ad in Emirati Arabic showing up in the UAE. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, of course. It comes down to how exactly you're doing your targeting, I think when it comes down to, say, the website, for example, just having it generally in Arabic is fine. And quite often, to be very honest, even though those are small changes in dialects do exist, generally the gist of it, they get it, from looking at a general ad. So we don't really need to go so granular in terms of dialects, but we just felt like there's just been a really positive response to just doing marketing in Arabic, and people want to get on board.
I wanted to kind of touch on when you mentioned clients and testing. What about, and actually this is a pet peeve of mine. This relates to social media advertising, but I guess it also goes into Google. The blanket demographic targeting. And in terms of that, what I mean is while the different platforms like Google, Instagram, Facebook, etc., give you a real depth of targeting and segmentation, more often than not, I've noticed that some of the big brands here just target without any targeting. I mean, I see ads for completely unrelated stuff. The other day, I think a couple of months ago, I got served ads for baby food, and and here's the thing: I've been on Facebook for 12 years. I've been on Google for maybe 16 years. They have every information possible about me. They know that I'm A, single, B, not don't have kids, C, have never looked for this kind of stuff. So the only thing it can lead me to believe is that these guys would, even if they're multinationals, they have agencies managing their stuff, and yet somebody is just clicking show it to everybody.
Yeah, so I think there's either A, they don't care about their demographics. They've literally just plugged in everybody in the UAE, show ads, all ages, all interest groups, all languages, all genders. So they've just kept it so open because they just want to, brand as much as possible. There are a lot of companies that come and they say, we don't want to segment too much. We just want to advertise as much as possible because we feel like even if somebody sees a product that's not relevant to them, they'll tell a friend when it's relevant to them, so that they kind of rely on that sort of word of mouth and let's just get my brand out and let's just, spam people with my brand. And the other thing that could be happening is just that maybe somebody's managing it and they just don't know what they're doing.
I kind of feel like it's both. You're right. I think on one level you have the mass market brands like, let's say, toothpaste or something. I get that. But I'm pretty sure when it comes to things like, let's just take the example I was saying, baby food. It's pretty obvious that that's not blanket. That's somebody who's obviously not targeted well and and that brings me then to something that I'm really, really interested in, and I've not had a lot of time or experience in this area, but I wanted to touch it with you. And a lot of people are absolutely not aware of this. I'm talking about things like affinity groups on Google. I'd love for you to, first of all, give a very brief introduction to what affinity groups are and how, after that, how brands can and use them for their advertising. How does it work?
Okay, so affinity groups fall under what we call display network advertising.
Yeah.
And display network advertising is basically, so you have search ads, and search ads are based on people typing things into Google because they have a need. So it's a need-based advertising, basically. Display ads is the other side of that. So say suppose you've been on a website and you're browsing something and you see little ads pop up here and there, and some of these ads will have a tiny little logo in the corner. That's basically that company has opted for AdSense, where they give Google a little bit of real estate on their website, and they gain a little bit of money, very, very little bit of money when somebody clicks on that ad. So what companies do is that they target these little slots, these little bits and banners on different websites based on the content. Or based on a lot of different factors. And one of those factors is affinity audiences. You have a couple of ways to target people on Google through banner ads. You have affinity audiences, which is based on their browsing activity, what are they reading, and what are they interested in. In-market audiences are a similar one as well. They kind of, both affinity and in-market kind of have somewhat similar audience groups that you can target people, for example, that are avid investors. Now, how Google slots these people into avid investors, I have no idea, but that's how they do it. Or people who are interested in beauty, fashion. So they basically, it's based on their browsing sort of history or their browsing interest. So they get slotted into all of these things. And there's something that's also called custom intent audiences that I've been using a lot of. So custom intent audiences kind of pick up on people's intention to complete an action for a particular service. And then you get slotted into custom audiences as well.
Oh, so like if somebody is known to complete the funnel, you know that they're likely to make a purchase.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing about the way that Google does display advertising. As someone who advertises both on Google and on Facebook, when it comes to audience targeting, I'd say Facebook has a lot better targeting options. For example, something that I use quite often for a client is targeting people who are close friends of a woman with a birthday coming up soon, for example, or new parents. And these sort of targeting options make it a lot easier for you as an advertiser to get to the right person, even on social media, even though they probably don't have an intent to buy, but they just have a vague interest or they match based on their demographics. On Google, however, those kind of targeting options are very limited. If you go into affinity audiences and in-market audiences, you'll see that it's quite generic. Like for instance, if I want to target somebody who's specifically interested in, say, CFA or doing their CFA or CPA, I don't actually have anything that granular. Like I can only target people based on education interests in general. So,
for example, an affinity group, you could look at, you could target somebody who likes comics, but not necessarily somebody who likes Batman comics.
Yeah. So what you do in this sort of sense is you use a little bit of combined advertising. So you do somebody who's maybe interested in comics, and then maybe you'd also target people that are visiting websites with particular keywords. So with Google Banner Ads, you can target basically keywords on a website. So say suppose you want to target people who are reading blogs, on prenatal classes, for example. So you can kind of put in some of your keywords from your search campaign into your GDN campaign and then target people that way based on what they're browsing. So Google in that sense has an advantage of targeting people content-wise, what they're browsing on through keywords.
I have to ask this question because this was asked by a couple of people when I told them that I'm going to be talking to somebody who works on Google Ads. Is it true that Google servers are listening to our conversations to serve us ads?
Well, I know that Facebook is. Because I can't say much for Google, to be honest, but I have seen evidence of it in Facebook. And if you are, anybody out there listening, if you are a Facebook advertiser, when you are setting up your audiences, you will see really weird interest. Like, I'm pretty sure that nobody discusses some of these things like blatantly. Like, say, suppose I want to target somebody and I pull up, like, interests will be like diapers, for example. Like, that there's probably nobody that's, necessarily following a lot of pages on diapers, but you can see that number, and it's a huge number under the interest of diapers. And I'm like, isn't it people are just talking about diapers, and is that how it's picking it up? Like, is that how Facebook is scanning people? Like, so I have a feeling that happens a lot on Facebook. Actually, it does happen. I mean, it's been proven that it does. But on Google side, I don't know, actually. I haven't really seen much evidence for that.
Well, let's look at it from another angle. I mean, yesterday I was reading a meme and it made a lot of sense. Where if Alexa can greet you when you come to the house, or Alexa is listening, then that means that Alexa is always listening. That means there's a server somewhere that is dedicated to listening to your environment, hoping that you will say something so that it can pick it up and then answer you.
Yeah, probably. I'll say something. I wouldn't say that I know much about how Alexa works. I don't have one in my home. But when it comes to listening in, I know for sure. I can tell you 100% that Facebook is able to pick up on what I think is just keywords in conversations, both verbal as well as written on your chats and things like that, and show you catered ads to that. In terms of Google, the way that it works is very different, right? Like, you have your search ads which lead you to plug in something. But I've seen very little evidence of banner ads being showed to you based on.
I think a lot of these conversations that revolve around, are they listening? It's usually when they see ads on Facebook and Instagram, not actually on Google. And here's the other thing. I think it's also about people and their own self-interest. If you think about it, every time we install an app or every time we do something with Facebook and we install something via Facebook, you have the pop-up that says, Facebook would like access to your phone, to your mobile, to your microphone, to your camera, and we always say yes. So we're actually giving access even after they're asking us. We're not even pausing to think, well, do I really want to? So, I mean, we blatantly do it, and then when we see an ad, we're like, why? They're listening to us? How could they? So I think there's I think there's a lot of false and honestly, here's the other thing that I was thinking of, is that unless you're sitting around discussing nuclear codes or discussing robbing and unless you're going to actually go and you're planning with friends in a bar to go and rob a bank. I mean, really, I don't think there's any privacy issues with Facebook showing you an ad for diapers when you're about to have a baby, for example.
Yeah.
So
Like when I think about it, and I'm saying this not just as an advertiser because I want to be able to target people better, but I'm saying this also as a regular person. If I'm having a conversation about taking flights to a particular country, and on the next day I see flight deals and offers to that country, I actually like it because
yes.
I'm like, fine. It's a little bit creepy, I admit, and sometimes, it happens so often about so many different things. I feel a little bit creeped out, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I'm getting a deal, or oh, I'm getting an offer, or I'm getting content created and catered around what I'm talking about and what my need is. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? Like you said, like if somebody is discussing something suspicious, then maybe they don't want it to be shown to them. But in general, I think people want to be able to see ads that's catered to what they want and what they need. So no one's really complaining in that sense, I guess.
Yeah, true. Okay, so I mean, I want to. I think there's a lot to talk about, and we can do this in probably a part 2 kind of podcast, maybe in a month from now.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But right now, I wanna kind of come close to the end by first of all asking, if somebody was to approach SEO, or sorry, not just SEO, I'm talking about specifically about Google Ads or online advertising. If somebody is like starting to build their campaign for the company, let's say it's somebody in-house and they have to start working on making their Google Ads or from scratch, what is something? Can you name a couple of things that they should consider?
Yeah, first off, make sure that you're very relevant. And by this, I mean, I get a lot of clients that say things like, well, this is my service, but I'd like to add keywords that are mildly related to it in the hopes that people who are searching for this will find my ad relevant. So you're paying at the end of the day for every time somebody clicks on an ad. And even though there's a possibility of targeting people based on interest through keywords, you want to be as specific as possible to cater to a good experience to those people who see your ad. What you want to do is make sure that you have very tightly knit ad groups with very relevant keywords. Try to use as many long tail keywords as possible to make sure that it's relevant.
So I'm going to stop you there. Can you tell for the audience, can you tell them what a long tail keyword is?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry. So long tail and short tail keywords basically are how you capture relevancy, I'd say. So say, for instance, pediatrician. That is a short tail keyword. It's a single word. But if you want to go for something long tail, you're going to do something like best pediatrician in Dubai. So that's a bit more specific. So it has to do a lot with relevancy.
Okay.
And when you're doing that, you're making sure that you're catering to the right people by using the right keyword. So basically having very relevant campaigns and providing a very good user experience for anybody who would see the ad. If somebody is looking for something, you want to make sure that they see a very relevant ad, maybe with an offer, maybe something like that, and they're going to a website or a landing page that is fully functional, properly mobile optimized, easy to read, easy to browse, and give them a really good experience. So what you're thinking of at the end of the day is if you want to get a high number of conversions or you want to convert as much of your traffic into leads, you need to remember at the end of the day, it's not about you and your company and what you want. It's about what other people want and whether you can cater it to them correctly.
That's really great advice. And finally, I think I'm going to end with a question that if somebody's coming to an agency, let's say to your agency, or saying it's going to hire you, Anna, as an agency to run. Let's say I'm coming to you. Okay, Anna, listen, you know what? I don't want to do my Google ads. I want to have you guys do it for me. You guys are professionals. What are the 3 things top of mind that I need to consider when I'm briefing you?
You mean as in you are coming to an agency and asking for you're looking to hire an agency?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
So you want to, as a company, what you want to tell your agency before you hire them is what exactly is, and this is really important, companies out there, be really honest with your agency. I mean, if you have a particular budget, tell them exactly what your marketing budget is. If you have a particular cost per lead, be honest with that. Don't lowball them and say, well, I actually want leads for 5 dirhams, whereas you can afford to get them for 100 dirhams per lead. So be really honest with your agency and what you expect and what your what your resources, what your budgets are, because everything that you tell an agency is what they will put into building a good, successful campaign for you. Another thing, companies, remember that, as time goes on, every industry is going to get really, really competitive on Google Ads. There's a limited number of space on that first page, and everybody wants to be there. And I'm so tired of hearing companies come to me and say, I just want to spend 1,000 dirhams per month, but I want to get 100 leads per month. That's never going to happen. So be realistic in what your results are. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. You want to get a particular number of leads. Listen to your agency when they tell you that this is what you need to spend, because it all is essentially just math at the end of the day. What you spend will influence the visibility of your ads. The visibility of your ads will influence how many people can see it and then click on it and then come to your website. So traffic. And obviously, the higher number of traffic, the higher chance of getting more leads. So regardless of what your conversion rate is going to be, it all really comes down to your visibility and the budget that you put into it.
Okay, so I'm going to end with, I think this is a very, very important question related to you and to everybody out there in terms of customers and clients. There's a saturation of companies and freelancers and companies from India, Pakistan, and other countries saying, we'll do your SEO, and they're good and bad. So how do I as a client, what do I need to look out for to be able to choose a good SEO company?
So a lot of things. Firstly, how long have they been around in the market? This will kind of, it's honestly speaking, the first agency that I worked with shut down. So they weren't very sustainable in the way that they managed their practices and what they were doing. So unfortunately, in this respect, you need to look at agencies that have been around for a long time, because it means that they have very sustainable practices and they can afford to invest heavily into clients that continue to stay with them. Ask them about what companies they're working with. Companies, trust me, digital marketing companies love to show off their top names. Anytime anybody asks me who your company is, I can name off on the top of my hand a couple of companies that I work with, and you're all really impressed. And like, oh, such big brands in the UAE do digital marketing with a small agency? And we're like, yeah, because, we're affordable or whatever it is. But asking them a little bit about the brands that they're working with will give you an idea. And visit the websites of these brands that they tell you, so that you can kind of do a little bit of research as well, see the functionality of the website, the quality of their content, do a little bit of Google search to see the quality of the ads that pop up on Google search. So these two, I would say, is quite important.
Okay, fantastic. And I think there's a lot of things we can cover. I want to, probably in the next podcast with you, I'll probably go into something in more technical stuff, like, we'll talk about things like CTAs, acquisition rates and things like that, so that, we can really go to the nitty gritty. So thank you, Anna, for doing this podcast with us. I learned a lot, so I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening has learned a lot as well. Everybody, please go and give Anna a lot of love on LinkedIn. Her name is Annalise Bayer on LinkedIn. So, definitely go and endorse her for, Google Ads and online marketing. And so I'm going to...
Yeah. Feel free to get in touch with me as well if you want to discuss a little bit more about Google Ads or SEO for your companies or whatever it is. Just, ask Anthony to put you in touch with me, and I'd be more than willing to sit and strategize with you.
In fact, you know what I'm going to do, everyone? I'm going to put a link to Anna's company in the bio for this particular podcast. It is not a plug. I'm not being paid to do this, guys. I just think that is important to kind of give back to the community as well. Anna's giving to us. Let's give Anna something as well. So fantastic. Hey guys, so that was Anna Bayer talking to me, and it's a bit long, but I'm sure it was very beneficial to all of you. I hope you learned as much as I did. And so here's the marketing dude signing off on Funnel Vision.